clear for anyone who checked this video just by the title itself. I did not watch this show, and one of my Patreons requested me to review 5 episodes from this show in 1 week, and this episode isn't one of them. One of the reasons I'm reviewing this episode from a show that is catered to children is, one, I'm really low on Christmas ideas for this schedule, and second, considering that I'm planning on reviewing 5 episodes from one of my Patreons, I really felt like I need to watch this episode in particular to get my own perspective from this show before I get into 5 more episodes afterwards. To be honest, an episode centering around Christmas and yet at the same time the majority of it centers around the family and the poor is somewhat realistic if you live in the deep south of America. Like, it is really, if you ever went to the deep south during the Christmas season, there was barely any snow, to the point that you're just gonna have to celebrate Christmas without the snow. And I honestly feel like that this didn't distract me completely, because I can instantly tell that these characters probably live somewhere in the deep south. The main focus of this episode is that Bluey, one of the main characters, gets a Christmas present that he calls Bartleby, which is a doll. And for someone who really wants a doll at a young age to be completely unbroken or unwet from anything, then you can understand the relatability from Bluey. And considering that this show is educational, I'm not expecting every single character to be hateable. I mean, you can make the argument that some of the characters were nearly this close to destroying Bluey's Christmas present, but at the same time, with an episode 7 minutes long instead of the usual 11 minutes long, even though that in cartoons in the earlier age of animation were 7 minutes long, I'm not really expecting much, and I'm not really hating on them completely, since that this is the first episode. Especially for a Christmas episode where all the characters are swimming instead of doing Christmas material. Keep in mind, which includes my Patreon who requested me to do 5 episodes in the future, I'm not fully familiar with these characters, and once I get into those 5 episodes, it would give me an indication of what these characters represent. But in this episode in particular, it really feels like that you shouldn't mess with Bluey's Christmas present, otherwise you will be witnessing the saddest child on Christmas. And considering that these characters are dogs, I honestly felt like that it would have been a lot more heartbreaking to see Bluey completely devastate that his Christmas present got broken or got damaged due to his family. Granted, I could make the argument that there's possibly going to be more of these moments in the other episodes, but for this episode in particular, it really feels like that they want the children to do good deeds and they don't want them to see bad deeds, otherwise the negative impact would definitely make them feel, well, let's just say, depressed even during the most happiest time of the year. Granted, you're not expecting much from this review, but considering that this is one of the fewer times I'm reviewing an episode that's 7 minutes long, and with the majority of the show representing the education for children, I'm not really expecting much from this episode, and considering the fact that this isn't one of the episodes of what my Patreons want me to review. Granted, after watching this episode, similar to My Little Pony, mainly Generation 4 and 5, it didn't make me cringe. And I have to admit that the animation is probably the highlight of the show, for how the Australian animators who made the animation unique and tried to bring out the potential. As for Bluey in this episode, he is tolerable to say the least. Keep in mind, I'm gonna be watching 5 more episodes and reviewing them in the future, so it's only gonna take time for me to grow attached to not only him but also the other characters. if that's ever going to be a possibility. When it comes to this episode, it's really harmless, and even though it's not one of my favorite Christmas episodes, especially when it's taking Christmas into a different direction, it doesn't mean it's completely terrible. In fact, I can say that it's somewhat tolerable, especially for the one time of 7 minutes. If anything, it just gave me an understanding of what Christmas is like in the deep south of America. Granted, it shouldn't be a big deal to you, but for me personally, it just gave me more information that I'm receiving out of the blue. So, when it comes to my rating of this episode, it's a 6 out of 10, and there's a possibility that the episodes that I'm going to be reviewing in the future will probably top it, depending on what the episodes are going to be about. Because I can guarantee you that those episodes are going to have different directions than the episode that I have tackled today, even during the season of Christmas.